ما معنى أن إيران ستحولها إلى حرب إقليمية؟
من به نظر من این خیلی روشنه. اگر آمریکا به ما حمله بکنه طبیعی است که ما امکان حمله به خاک اصلی آمریکا رو نداریم. ناچارا به پایگاه‌های آمریکا در منطقه حمله خواهیم کرد یا پاسخ خواهیم داد و متاسفانه پایگاه‌های آمریکا در سراسر منطقه وجود داره و پخش هست. ولی بی‌اعتمادی بسیار زیادی وجود داره. چگونه میشه اعتماد ایجاد کرد؟ به نظر من کار آسانی نیست. البته این بی‌اعتمادی از طرف آمریکا ایجاد شده. در دور قبلی مذاکرات ما نبودیم که وسط مذاکرات اقدام به تهاجم نظامی کردیم. در حقیقت اولین بمبی که به سمت ما شلیک شد، به سمت میز مذاکره شلیک شد.
Before I let you go, the US and Iran have restarted nuclear diplomacy. I found it interesting, Michael, both said that they've described the talks as good, but I mean, are they ever really that good when it comes to Iran?
No, I suppose the good news is they're having talks and they're going to have more talks, but Iran is a million miles away from the American position. The Iranians are saying, let's only talk about our nuclear program, and we will not give up enrichment of uranium, and we won't hand over the uranium we've already enriched. The Americans are saying, let's talk about you stopping your nuclear program, and let's talk about you ending your missile programs and ending support to Hezbollah and Hamas. So they're so far apart, but at least there isn't conflict happening right now. So maybe the talks will get somewhere.
Yeah, look, I mean, we're always hopeful that the talks will get somewhere. It is a precarious situation. I note the US is also out preparing just in case that there is an escalation, as you can imagine.
I want to move on to the situation in Iran right now. We've seen talk of military buildups. We've been hearing threats from the Trump administration, but you know, there was a famous cartoon character who said there was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom. Are we going to wind up seeing some sort of coming to head of this crisis? Because an awful lot of people in Iran are waiting for this, not just in Iran, but around the world, for this regime to finally fall.
I think there's only one person who can actually answer your question. Perhaps you could bring him on as a guest next time, which is Donald Trump.
Love to.
He's the only man that really knows what's in his own mind, and maybe he hasn't even decided yet. But I think there's certainly a large build-up of US forces and some other allied forces, including some British forces in the region, which could serve two purposes. One, to apply huge pressure on Iran to force them into some kind of agreement that's suitable for President Trump, particularly in relation to their nuclear weapons program and their ballistic missiles program. And that's one possibility. And I know negotiations are going on now, and Witkoff and Kushner, Trump's two envoys out here in the Middle East, are currently, as I understand it, will have recently been on board the US aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln, which is yet another indication of the kind of diplomatic pressure they're applying to Iran. But if that doesn't work, or if Trump doesn't achieve what he thinks what may be acceptable to him diplomatically, then I think there's every likelihood that he will use significant military force against Iran. And maybe that would prompt or precipitate the downfall of the regime. Maybe, and it's a big maybe. but it's probably the best chance there is of removing that regime. Israel is very interested in that regime falling, and Prime Minister Netanyahu, I believe, is going to be in the US this week discussing it with Trump. And I think if Trump doesn't strike, then I think Israel will be obliged at some point to carry out its own additional strikes now to remove the threat of ballistic missiles from Iran, which are, of course, directed against Israel.
Rita.
How weakened is that regime? Is Trump just wanting to demoralise them so they come to the negotiating table and submit to what he wants? Or is he serious about regime change? Because he has got these warships, fighter jets, all circling the country, ready to strike if he needs them.
Yeah, unless he gets a major diplomatic breakthrough, and I mean a major one, not the normal Iranian fudging. But if he gets a major diplomatic breakthrough, then maybe he won't use it. But he doesn't just build up that force in the region and then withdraw it without having achieved something. So I think it's quite likely that a strike will take place. And the answer to your question, how weak is the regime? It is extremely weak. It was very badly weakened by the US and Israeli strikes during the 12-day war last year, which eliminated a lot of the military leadership. It eliminated a lot of the military infrastructure. It largely destroyed the nuclear capabilities or nuclear program and a lot of the ballistic missile capability. And that strike in turn, I think, albeit with a delay, led to the uprising that we've seen since around Christmas time in Iran. They sensed the weakness of the regime and they decided to try and bring it down. They haven't succeeded, and those uprisings have fizzled out to an extent. But I think a US strike, particularly if it was highly focused on the leadership, the Ayatollah and his immediate henchmen and the levels below that, that could lead to a resurgence of the uprising as they smell blood on the streets.
And Richard, just very quickly, we've only got 30 seconds left. We spoke with Dr. Quanta Ahmed a couple of weeks ago. She was quite agitated about what's happening in Syria with the massacre of the Kurds and others, and the West seems to be turning a blind eye to that. You're an expert on the region. What's your take on what is occurring in Syria? Is the West turning a blind eye? Are the Kurds being massacred? What's happening?
Well, the US is planning to withdraw its remaining 1,000 troops from Syria, which were there partly to keep ISIS at bay, but also to help protect the Kurds in the north. And of course, the Turks are deadly enemies of the Kurds. And I think if those forces withdraw, then we are likely to see more action by the Turks against the Kurds, and also potentially by the Jilani government, the current former al-Qaeda ruler of Syria. So I think the Kurds at this point are in very, very big danger.
Colonel Richard Kemp, always great to chat to you. Thanks so much for coming on, staying up late and coming on Outsiders. We'll see you soon.